Sir Alex, just over here, Sam Wallace from The Independent. You're very critical of David Beckham in the chapter on him, and you talk about the change that he underwent as a player. You're not quite specific about who or what made him change.
Well, I think the big problem for me, and I'm a football man really, he fell in love with Victoria. That changed everything, I think. And being a football man, that I had to think about my own control of the club and where we're going with that. And if he had asked my advice about leaving Real Madrid to go to LA Galaxy, I would have told him exactly what I thought. How can you leave Real Madrid to go to LA Galaxy? And of course, he reinvented himself a couple of times to go to Milan, then to go to PSG. It was fantastic. And that's all down to the natural stamina he had. And also, I think towards the end, he probably did miss the big-time football. And that's a decision he made himself. Maybe in years to come, he'll look back and say, well, maybe I should have stayed with Real Madrid, whatever. But I don't think I'm being too critical on David. I think that the admiration for him goes to this. He's become a fantastic... How can I argue how he's turned out as a human being? He's an icon to every kid in the world. He's a very wealthy guy. So how can I possibly argue with that? But I've never had any issue with him at all. I liked him. I thought he was a marvellous guy. He always was a marvellous boy. And when he joined us at 12 years of age, he had this fantastic ambition to be a footballer, which I loved. And he was part of that great squad we got through, the group we got through with Giggs and Scholes and the Nevilles and Nicky Butt, Ben Thornley. It was a wonderful period for Manchester United. And he's worked to get to the point where he became a great player. And I think that we made the right decision in terms of letting him go to Real Madrid because we felt it was time. I think that if you're managing Manchester United for 27 years, you have to deal with issues at some point along the way. And the important thing is it was always my mantra to make sure I kept control of the club. Not easy when you're dealing with a lot of top players and star players and great players. And therefore, the most important thing was to always keep your control. And also, it's important for people to understand how difficult that is and the important decisions I had to make in relation to that. And I always have to go back to that point. Did I feel I was losing control if I let things carry on? And therefore, that was a determining point in terms of management structure. Well, I think leadership is a quality that can apply to all businesses. One, creating your loyalty with your work staff, so important. The philosophy of your thinking, that you hope that transmits itself to all around you in terms of whatever your workforce is like. And your control, your disciplines, all these things matter and important. Doesn't matter what industry you're in, they're all important. And there's many factors like that, Nick. I think that we see it time and time again. Leadership is a quality that your personality transmits itself to everyone. And those with strong personalities and the qualities I've also spoke about are important in these industries. No, definitely not. I've said that many times, that once I was finished with United, that was me finished in terms of management. And I've seen over the last few weeks certain positions in football, some club had me 80 to 1 to become their manager. That was a good price. But no, I wouldn't be interested in any job. Well, as I said, time and I have no problem with that at all. I mean, there seems to be more made of it than there really is. But you see, Wayne asked away, and I've written that in the book, that he felt he'd been playing out of position. Now, I can understand that because even as a player myself, I was dropped 10 minutes past 2 in the Scottish Cup final, top goal scorer. And I want to know why to the manager, and I had a heated discussion with the manager on the very day of that cup final. So for Wayne to come and say that he's disappointed he's not playing his normal position, I can understand it. But at the time, Wayne wasn't playing well enough. You know, that was my judgment. And now we see him in the form he's in. Do you think I would drop Wayne Rooney if he was playing the way he was just now? Absolutely no way. That's what I want to see. I want to see Wayne Rooney in this form he is at the moment all the time, because the expectation on him, and he must understand that now, is huge. He's a white hope for England. He's one of the great players of Manchester United. And when he's in that form, we see a different player. Fantastic player. I think Avram was a really nice man. I think that he came into the Chelsea team following Jose Mourinho, which is a very difficult task. But he took his team to the final. I just felt that, I think with Avram and so many coaches that passed his way, you know, after that it's not a club where you stay long as a manager or a coach, you know. But no, he's a really nice man. He's a very good coach. Well, Mark got off to a real bad start. He turned up 3 hours late for his first day of training. So it wasn't a great start for him, and he was overweight, and that was obvious. And we worked hard to try and get his fitness down. But I think we had a bad period and tried to replace Peter Schmeichel. We really did, and we tried several goalkeepers, and it's definitely not my strongest point. There's no doubt about that. I didn't do well with goalkeepers in general, and therefore, by the time we got to Van der Sar, which was a blessing really, because then we got ourselves back to the level of Peter Schmeichel. But Tim Cahill was one we actually was on the radar, and we had actually watched him 2 times. I went to watch him in the semi-final when they beat Sunderland, and he had a lot of really good qualities. We let it pass, and of course the same for Everton. He had a terrific career with Everton, and there was always a goal in him, you know. So, yeah, sometimes you win one, and sometimes you lose. You make decisions about, bringing on players into your club. You hope that it's going to be benefit to you, and sometimes you don't go for some players. The thing about Edwin is, as opposed to say Schmeichel, 2 different personalities, but Schmeichel was a warrior. You know, they blasted every defender in front of him, and they could, you know, so aggressive and things, whereas Edwin was so calm. And that calmness was fantastic for our defenders. But in the dressing room, he was very forthright, telling players exactly what he expected of them, particularly the defenders. At half-time, fantastic. It was just a magnificent presence and calmness about him. And his use of the ball, well, he was easily an outfield. He was a free player at the back for us. No, and what a fantastic person he is too. Strong and, well, 130 caps for Holland, it tells you everything. But he was a marvellous, it was a great buy for us, absolutely brilliant. I just wish I'd got him when Schmeichel had decided to leave at that time.
Sir Alex from the Sun. You say that Wayne Rooney had wanted you to pursue Mesut Ozil before he went to Real Madrid. Bearing in mind how well Ozil's done since he arrived at Arsenal, do you think Rooney was right?
Well, the thing was, Ozil was not on the radar. And I say that to Wayne at the time. And I think we get most of them right over the years in terms of signing players. We signed Chicharito that summer. And my thoughts at the time was Rooney and Chicharito, you know. And I think that would have been a fair prospect for us to look at. Ozil won when he was at Werder Bremen, actually played wide right for most of the season. And then towards the second half of the season, he started playing him off the front. And, you know, he was part of that great under-21 teams of Germany. He went to South Africa, I think it was 5 or 6 of them went, and did very well. But it wasn't necessarily on the radar of that type of player, a number 10 off the front, you know, where he was playing for Germany. So, as I explained to Wayne, leave the signing players to me, you know. And as I said, we get most of them right, I think.
Rock of Gibraltar was a row that went right to the heart of the club and the boardroom and the ownership. The 99 Questions only gets quite a passing reference in your book. Why is that, and given its significance in the history of United?
It's straightforward, Matt, that I had an agreement with John Magner that once the settlement had been made, nothing was said about it anymore. And neither they said anything about it, and neither have I said anything about it. And that's exactly the position we have to be in. And so we won't be going back to that again. Ancelotti is a very nice man. Well, Capello was the English team manager, so I didn't really have a lot of dealings with him in the same way as I did with Ancelotti and with Mancini. But Roberto always brought good wine. You know, Sasakai, Onalaya. I'm sorry he's left. Well, she's an exceptional person, you know, that she doesn't go to the games, as probably most of you know. She's been to a few finals right enough, but never watches it. And it takes a certain type of person to be able to take that sacrifice of no going to particularly going to Manchester United, for instance, to watch games, because it can be quite a good day out, you know. But her job has always been a wife, a mother, and a grandmother, you know, and that's what she enjoys most. And she brought up the kids. She brought Mark, Jason, and Darren up when I was running 2 pubs in Glasgow and running St Mirren Football Club. Not easy. So all the thanks. And you used to say to me, yeah, but wait till they're 16, they become daddy's boys, which, of course, when we get older and they grow up, they become more closer to you because of that, because of their age. But there's no doubt that she's a big influence in our family. Well, Ollie was one of these rare human beings that watched every game and he took the notes in every training session. And it was obviously his desire was later on to be a coach, obviously. But it's also more than that. It's about trying to be the best you possibly can be and giving himself the best chance, and taking all the notes down in the training sessions and watching when he was a sub. I used to say to the scouts, to the substitutes thereafter, referring to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, watch the game. Watch the game. Don't be having a glance round the stadium or chatting to each other during the game. Watch the game. And that's what Ole did. So when he came onto a game, and knew exactly the flow of the game, the tempo of the match, and he fitted in. That's why he was such a great substitute. And it was fantastic quality to have. And the patience, obviously. I mean, I'm very lucky that he never complained. You know, I don't think any other player with that quality would have stood for it. I mean, Teddy was always moaning at me, Teddy Sheringham, about not playing enough games. And I can understand, he was a great player. But you have in York and Cole, Sheringham and Solskjaer, you know, it was a golden time for us. And Ole had that fantastic patience just to be waiting his turn.